Okay, so today we're going to talk about using CC proxy. CC proxy is just a simple proxy server that you can use. If you're going to download it, go ahead and just download the free version because, again, that's what we're going to be playing around with. And just go ahead and download it, wait for your system to come up, and let it do its thing. And as always, this takes a while to boot off, so let's go ahead and minimize that. So when you run it, you just kind of run it. You go through the UAC. Yeah, I want to run it. All right, go next. Yeah, and then finish. Now, here's the problem. Requires elevation. If you see this, that means that you did not install it as admin. So here's the interesting part. If you go to your directory, wherever you downloaded it, what you can do is you can go ahead and go run as administrator, right? That's a really good one. So sometimes your software won't install right, so you need to install it as the administrator. And once you've got that done, you're pretty much so good to go, right? So just remember that right-click, run as administrator will get you around most of the problems that you've got. But when you're in here, what you can do is you can go to options. It comes with a bunch of default stuff, right? So mail, DNS, port map, and it will basically track all this good stuff that you've got, whatever you want to do. If you go into advanced, you can go into dial-up, cascading, all the little ton and fun things. The log is really kind of important, so you want to make sure that you save the logs to the file because you're going to want those. Do a new log daily, change this out to however many that you want to do, right? And remember that you can always export to Excel. Mail, networks, however you want to do it, right? If you want to do remote admin, which we don't want to do. So basically, we need to keep that open because we need to pay attention to that. So what ends up happening, if you go to Tools and you go to Options, what you want to do is go to Advanced Network, right? And this will tell you what you've got cooking. Configure how Firefox connects to the network. We want to use a manual proxy, right? So what we need is our data from here, right? We want to check and see what our local IP address is. So, right? So remember, we turn that off. So my HTTP proxy is 10.29.98.240. 10.29.98.240. .98.240. All right. We'll see. Cross that over. Cross that over. Cross that over. Now our ports are 808. 808. All right. 808. FTP was 2121. 2121. And our SOCKS was 1080. All right. So SOCKS was 1080. Let's make sure I got that all right. HTTP, secure, everything. Good to go. Then we put that back over to auto detect because we need to be able to see that IP address. And then we go OK. And then we go OK. And if it works, we should be able to bring up a website. Authorized. Proxy server box blocked the external user's connections. So we want to go back to options, right? And we want to go to advanced. And we want to make sure that everything is turned on. Right, that we can allow local protocol all. Need authorization? No. Log, mail, networks. We want to enable this. Want to turn that off. Enable multiple IPs. Add client. And others. English. Okay. Okay. Let's see if we did that right. Nope. So we screwed up somehow. There we go. So what you want to do is you want to make sure underneath the options that you leave off auto detect, but you do need that IP address. Okay, so as we go through it, we kind of see what we've got cooking. So we see our monitor, and we see that we're able to successfully get to our website. And we can see all the cool things that are going on with that website as we kind of go through it. And we see all the ads and all the rest of it. So what we're going to do, we're going to kind of just, here, let's just go take a look at my Google Plus. Let's go take a look at my email. Let's go ahead and refresh that. And then let's go ahead and let's log into Facebook while we're at it. All right, so we've done this. We've taken a look at it, and we've logged into a couple places, and we've also logged into Slashdot. If we go to news.google.com, but basically, as people surf the internet, and if we go to reddit.com, and we surf the internet, and we kind of take a look at it, and we can see what we've got going. If we go into politics, if we go into world news. Now, the idea behind running a proxy is you can see how this thing is going. And if you go into the monitor, you can actually see how a lot of this stuff works, right? So you can kind of see how people are doing stuff. You can see how these things are put together, right? And that's really the big one, right? Is that you want to be able to see how things work inside of this. And you know, I've never heard of AdZerk. I've never heard of, you know, a lot of these websites that are going to show up. And if you click on Open Logs, what will end up happening is that if we go ahead and we do a quick analysis, right, we can see that it's connect, we can see what the time is, username, we can see how our ports were done and all the rest of it, and we can see if we had get or post and all the other stuff. But again, the idea is that we can kind of see how web pages load, and that's the big one when you're working with information security. Seeing how web pages load absolutely gives you this beautiful idea on what is actually running behind the scenes of that web page. So you can actually see kind of the places that that web page goes and how that web page relates to other websites on the internet. You know, you may be thinking that you're just dealing with Reddit, and you may be just dealing with Reddit. But the cool part about that is that as you kind of go through and you bring these things up, you can see that, wait, there's a lot of other stuff that goes along with it. We have Tracker, right? And we have Math Tag, we have AdZerk, we have Reddit Media, we have Reddit.com, right? We have AdZerk, whoever AdZerk is. And if we're really interested in this and we want to see who AdZerk is, AdZerk.com, we can kind of go through and say, oh wait, hey, your ad service should do more priorities, install tags, manage revenue. So we can kind of see that this is one of those things that kind of takes a look at how advertising actually works on the internet. And you can kind of watch these as they go through. So what did we just download from Download CDN Mozilla? We just did another update, and we didn't even ask for it. So there's that. We have some Google APIs that are going along the way. Paradot.com. So who is Paradot.com? Paradot.com. And if you just kind of leave this thing open, you can kind of see how some of this stuff actually maybe works or maybe doesn't. Maybe I spelled that. Paradot.com. Paradot.com. All right, so why am I dragging imagery or something from Paradot.com that is kind of like a dead domain? So you know, we kind of have to wonder where did that come from, right? So if we copy that, and we see what we got here. Let's just go ahead and open this up in Notepad, just in case I have something really, really weird here. Notepad. So let's see what we got. So we have this big, huge thing, right? So, and that's a get. Control C. So paradot.com. And let's see what we got. What does that give me? It gives me that little 1 pixel dot. So that's kind of interesting, and that they're tracking you with that 1 pixel dot. So whenever you call that 1 pixel dot, they know what your IP address is, and they know what the rest of this is. So they know that you came through on HTTP 1.1. They have a timestamp. They have an IP address, and then they have that little dot thingy that's used to track who all on whatever network. So it's kind of cool when you kind of tear some of this stuff apart to see what's going on with it. So Polo domains. If we copy that and we go to the end of this, and enter. So who is polodomains.com? And we did it on a secure port. So let's go and see what that's about. What is on Polo domains? Oh, bad request. Browser server request unable to understand you're speaking on an SSL enabled port. Right, so there you go. Oh, but it's a Debian server running Apache 2216, right? So that's kind of good information. So if we go and we see Apache 2216, 2.2.16, vulnerabilities, and we can go through HTTP 2.2 Apache server project. There's some security vulnerabilities deep inside of that. So we were looking at CVE, Apache Server 2216, cross-site scripting. 5.0 is pretty high. Mod proxy, AGP module, and that's really what we're looking for. We're looking for really cool information like that when we do this, right? We want to know what their server is, so you can kind of use this to see how stuff's going on. And we're back here at Polo domains. AdZerk worked. So kind of interesting. Why do we have stuff going on with a web hosting company showing up in our proxy logs? Where are we getting those? Right? And then we can kind of see how going to these things kind of go on in terms of what we're looking for. And we open up all these new sites. And that's really what using a proxy server when you are trying to figure out how a website works, when you're doing your information security scanning and testing to see what you've got. You can kind of play around with this. And this is why a lot of people, when they're doing stuff online, in terms of doing their information security, all the other places that this thing connects to, and if there's any really how these things are looked up and what the rest of it is. So
that's why we use a proxy server. Our proxy servers are really, really cool. Sometimes they'll give us really cool information on terms of how the server's set up, and that's kind of interesting. It's interesting that whatever website's calling this, again, I have so many open that it's going to be really hard to kind of nail this down, but that we can go ahead and play around with this and see who's got what. And then there's my Outlook.com. Can we go ahead? Is there something cool here that we can play with? And that's really kind of the idea behind using a proxy, is to, if you're looking at a domain, so if we take a look at one of my domains, if we take a look at a site that I put up, comicsforge.com, right, and we go through and we want to see how this whole thing actually works and we want to track how it goes, then what we can do is we can kind of bring up that this website, Google Leads, Pixel QuantiServe. So we do some QuantiServe, we do some Amazon, we do some Facebook, because they find us on Facebook. And this is the cool part, is that you can kind of see how all this stuff ties together. All these places that this website opens up, right? Shareaholic, Doe, 1.0, Oven, Refer, Platform, WordPress. So kind of interesting that there's some humor in here that the kids kind of do their thing and have some fun with and take a look at it in terms of how it works. And then if we bring up, let's just go ahead and bring up a regular web page so we can see how that loads up as we kind of go through it. So more Facebook, more Google Leads, more Amazon.com. You can get my Amazon.com affiliate number, ERG -20. So again, you can get some really interesting information about how all this stuff works, right? UI associate Amazon.com, and that's why we use a proxy. When we are going through and doing information security and we're doing to see how someone built out a website, using a proxy is a really good way of finding out how this all connects to everything else. And you can usually find really cool stuff in here that you may not have expected to find. You could find a treasure trove of documents that someone had put up there, but wouldn't otherwise be seen because you are part of this whole process here in terms of how it actually works. So that's what a proxy is for. Go ahead and feel free to play around. CC proxy is just easy, right? And you can kind of see how it all works and you can track it. You can do all sorts of other really fun, cool things with it. So it just kind of makes life interesting in terms of how you use a proxy system to work through your way of finding out what that website's really all about and what's all really involved.